I'm stage 1, 0 through 4, B9S5. Never planning on going stage 3. Don't want lag. What would you recommend?
Address this Wagner's overkill thing, because something in a conversation last week about intercoolers got people to think that the Wagner is unnecessary if you're just doing stage 1, even though it's...
No, the Wagner is not oversized, and it's not unnecessary. Um, there's typically this. There's just I think in the world of human thought, there's often this idea that you can get something without giving something up, and or that you can get everything without having to give anything up. And there's simply not even one example anywhere in engineering where you get stuff and you don't give something up. Sometimes the thing you give up is lots of money, but there's always there's a finite amount of energy in the universe, and energy is not created or destroyed. So energy is transferred from one form to another. So if you have a stock intercooler, you're going to have terrible thermal performance, but you will have very fast system filling of pressurization of the system. The speed at which the system pressurizes will be optimally fast. The trade-off will be huge losses in thermal efficiency. So even though you'll fill the system up faster, overall you'll be way slower because the temps will be substantially hotter. So what do you have to do to get to optimize any of those variables is called a trade-off. And so you have to make the system bigger and more voluminous, which will take longer to fill up. But you'll trade that for superior thermal performance. So you can't have fast system filling and great thermal performance. You can't get it. It's just like one of those triangles where it's like there's three things. You can only ever have two, and you can pick which two you want, but you can't get it. And so small, compact intercooler systems that fill up quickly have terrible thermal performance. So the only way to get better thermal performance, which is the only way you can actually go faster and make more power, is to increase the system's volume, which is going to add a little bit of lag. But the trade-off is a lot more power. And it's a worthwhile trade-off, okay? And it's just like that old saying, there's no free lunch. This is the same thing.
And when you say a little bit, it is pretty much imperceivable by anyone without like having really, really accurate data before and after, like on not on even on acceleration, but on like just the transients in the manifold pressures and whatnot. It's imperceivable. I don't think you'd be able to tell giving the car, with two different intercooler setups to the same person, which is which.
On this application.
From like a tip-in.
Yeah. In this application specifically, it's next to...
Yeah, it's not a thing you need to worry about.
It's the kind of thing you could measure in logs, but like Nate says, that the Wagner is not so big that it's real noticeable in the driving experience. So the Wagner is not overkill. It's actually about the right size. It could even be bigger. There isn't a better option based on the trade-offs that I've been discussing. A smaller, more medium-sized intercooler is just going to put more heat in the system, and that's going to cost you more power and acceleration than this imperceptible, amount of delay. So what I said last week was accurate, and I hope what I said this week helped clarify any misunderstanding of it. I explain some of this stuff not to tell you that something is good or bad. I explain it so that you guys have a deeper, more fundamental understanding of how these things work. And there is a reason why you don't put, there's cars where you could fit really, really big intercoolers. You could fit in some trucks, you could fit a 2-foot thick intercooler by 8 feet tall and 6 feet wide. That might produce so much lag that it's not worth it. And so even there are applications where you'll see that the intercooler isn't as big as it could be to help optimize this factor. In racing, you see, literally the compressor housing, the turbo outlet, which goes into the intercooler end tank, and then the pressurized air charge goes through the intercooler into the outlet end tank and literally connects to a throttle body. And then that throttle body is connected to the intake manifold. So instead of trying to make the intercooler smaller, they reduce the system piping. The piping has a lot of volume in it. If you're packaging something like that, you can get rid of that extra volume by getting rid of the piping. The piping doesn't do anything for you. And so that's one way you can optimize the system. You see some of these newer cars with like intercoolers in the intake manifold. That reduces some of the piping. But in cars like the B5 or the B9, even the B5, you have turbos, you have intercoolers in the front of the car. There's some piping. The piping adds a little bit of lag. It's really not a big deal. So it's nothing to get too worked up about. The Wagner intercooler or an intercooler similar to that size is the way to go for sure.